Even though being a Sigma sounds cool, it's not always easy. Most of them aren't like most people, and their special abilities can cause them a lot of trouble. They're usually the ones who are misunderstood because they think and act differently than most people. If you can identify with any of the following challenges, you're probably a Sigma. 1. Making your ideas a reality. Thinking of new ideas is a fun mental workout for Sigma males. But putting these ideas into action is much harder than it seems. This is because they spend so much time thinking and not enough time doing things. They would rather think than act, and when they do act, they want it to be well thought out and in line with their values. On top of that, many ideas can be separated from reality because they are abstract. So in the end, many Sigma men have a lot of ideas that don't do anything useful and just sit around. To do this, they should not always look at the big picture, but instead focus on the small steps that will help them reach their goal. In some ways, this is a blessing, but in other ways, it's a curse. It's a gift because they are always coming up with new ways to make things better. But it's a curse because they often get stuck in their own thoughts and never get their ideas out into the world. Usually, a Sigma's biggest problem is not having enough time to put all of his great ideas into action. 2. People are scared off by how smart you are. This is a problem that Sigmas often have. It gets old to always have to explain things to people or talk in a way they can understand. You start to feel like you're not being yourself, and you can't help but wonder if anyone will ever really understand you. As a Sigma, you may have noticed that people tend to stay away from you when they find out how smart you are. This is because they are scared of how smart you are. They might feel like they can't keep up with you or are used to being the smartest person in the room. But the truth is that one of your best qualities is that you are smart. It lets you see things from a different angle and solve problems that other people can't. There are people out there who will be impressed by how smart you are and eager to learn from you. All you have to do is find them. You can also see through other people's lies because you have a clear head and think logically. You can tell right away when someone is lying or not telling the truth. This can make people feel like they can't do anything around you without getting caught. This skill can be helpful sometimes, but it can also be a bad thing. You might start to have doubts about people and what they do. You may also find it hard to trust people because you are always looking for hidden agendas. 3. People are always trying to use your silence against you. People tend to take advantage of Sigma males' silence because they are often quiet and think a lot. They might think Sigma is shy or weak, which would make them an easy person to control. Many people don't know that Sigma man is quiet because he is always watching and thinking about what he sees. Even when he's not talking, he's always thinking. Even though he seems easy to take advantage of because he is quiet, this is not the case. Sigma usually stays away from the person or situation when he sees this kind of behavior. He usually doesn't bother to talk to the person because he knows it wouldn't be worth his time. Sigma men might not be the most outgoing, but they are usually very observant and can see right through people. Sigmas find it hard to deal with these kinds of people because they can read them like an open book. Being quiet doesn't make you weak. It just means you have a strong inner world that not everyone can understand. 4. The alpha male always tries to bring you down. Sigma males are seen as a threat by many alpha males because they don't follow the same rules. They don't need anyone to agree with them or validate them, which makes them a force to be reckoned with. In order to feel better about themselves, alphas often try to bring down Sigmas. The alpha male is in charge of the pack, but the Sigma male lives on his own. This is often seen as a threat by the alpha, who feels the need to show that he is the leader. But Sigma men don't care what the alpha thinks of them at all. The problem is that many beta males would choose to follow the Sigma's lead because they know that the Sigma is not afraid to break away from the status quo. As more and more people choose to live their own lives, the alpha's need to feel in charge is becoming a weakness in the modern world. This balance of power can often make the alpha hate and resent Sigma. Alpha males will go out of their way to try to bring down Sigma males, but this just makes them look stupid. Sigmas don't need anyone else's approval, which alphas will never understand. This is why Sigma males are so dangerous to the alpha male ego in the end. 5. It's hard for you to find friends who really get you. Sigma men often feel like they don't belong because it's hard for them to find people who really understand them. They want deep, meaningful, and interesting conversations, which are hard to find in this world that is focused on things and not people. Because they don't spend as much time with people as people who are more outgoing, they probably won't go out of their way to make the right connections. They probably don't meet people at bars, clubs, and parties like most people do. Sigma men have their own unique ways of making friends, like joining a Facebook group, a book club, or a meetup group where they can find people with similar interests in a more private setting. This doesn't mean that Sigma don't like to hang out with other people, but they prefer to do so in smaller groups or one-on-one rather than in large groups. This is because they don't like small talk or other shallow conversations. They also need time to themselves to get their energy back. After a long day of socializing, they often feel tired, which is why they need time to themselves. 6. Finding stimulating work. For a Sigma man, it's hard to find a job that makes him happy. They want their minds to be stimulated and pushed, so they are always learning and growing. Filling out reports or answering emails over and over again doesn't let them be creative. Sigmas want to do work that gives them a deep sense of meaning and freedom, and gives them the freedom to put their own ideas into action. Most of the time, they end up starting their own businesses or working as freelancers so they can do what they want. Even though there aren't many jobs that fit Sigma's needs perfectly, it's hard for them to find jobs that are close. This doesn't mean that all jobs for Sigma men are bad, but they often have to make sacrifices to find something that doesn't bore them to tears. Sigmas should try to find a job that they are passionate about, even if it isn't easy. If not, they will end up feeling unhappy and unfulfilled. 7. Society disrespects you for being unique and sees it as a flaw. People often say that Sigma men are lonely or even outcasts. They don't fit the traditional idea of what a man should be like and don't care about what society thinks they should be like. This lack of conformity is often seen as a bad thing, but it's actually one of Sigma's best traits. It lets them be themselves and not care what other people think. They know they are different and are fine with that. People say that Sigma is a lone wolf, but that doesn't bother him. He is the kind of person who likes to do things his own way. This kind of independence might not be for everyone, but Sigma likes it. They don't care about status or power, which is what alpha males usually want to feel like they're good enough. Sigma males don't want to be like everyone else, even though society tries to shame them for being different and put them in a box with everyone else. This often gets them in trouble with their bosses and other people in charge. Even though this is hard to deal with, Sigma men must accept it as a part of who they are. They'd rather stay true to who they are than follow the crowd just to fit in. 8. Overthinking things. Many Sigma males analyze everything instead of taking things at face value. This can make their brains go into overdrive, and in the end, they usually don't even get the results they were hoping for. Whether they are overthinking a social interaction or trying to make sense of their panicked thoughts, this overthinking can keep them from doing anything useful. They can think deeply about a lot of information, but this makes them more likely than others to feel like they have too much to think about. When this happens, they need to take a break from their thoughts and do something more physical and grounded to pull themselves away from them. They can clear their minds by going to the gym, taking a walk, or even just cleaning their desk. They can also stop themselves from overthinking by asking themselves if what they're worrying about really matters in the big picture. 9. People always underestimate you. Sigma men aren't like most alpha men. They aren't usually the loudest or most outgoing person in the room, so it's easy to forget about them. People often think that Sigma men are not as strong or confident as other men because they are quiet. But this is the furthest thing from the truth. In fact, Sigma men are very sure of who they are and what they can do. They are so sure of themselves that they don't need to prove anything to anyone. Even though it can be annoying to be underestimated, they usually use it to their advantage. They know that people will think too little of them, so they use that to stay ahead. This gives them the freedom to take risks and act bravely without caring what other people think. It also gives them a bit of a surprise, which is always a plus. Sigmas are not pushy or aggressive, but when they have to, they will stand their ground. They are sure of what they believe and aren't afraid to say what they think. But they usually only stand up for themselves when they have to. They would rather stay out of the way and stay out of trouble whenever they can. 10. Not enjoying the present. Sigma males might get so lost in their thoughts that they forget to come back to Earth. People sometimes spend so much time thinking about the past or the future that they miss what's going on right in front of them. Sigma males should think about the past and make plans for the future, but they shouldn't spend too much time on either. If not, they'll forget to live in the present and live in their heads. They should try to be more aware of their thoughts and pay attention to the here and now to keep this from happening. This is because their mind is always going, making it hard for them to stay in the present. Even though it may be hard, they need to find a balance between thinking about the past and living in the present. 11. You have trouble finding a partner who is on the same level as you. Sigma men often find it hard to find a partner who is on the same level as them because they have high standards and are independent. They don't want to date someone they can control or who will do what they want all the time. They want someone who is also independent and can keep them on their toes by challenging them. Even though this can be hard to find in a partner, it's worth the time. Not everyone can be in a relationship with a Sigma male. They will push her to be the best version of herself and test her in ways she didn't think were possible. People always say that the best relationships are ones where both people grow. Sigma males are mysterious people, but there is more to them than meets the eye. Once she gets past Sigma's cold exterior, she'll find a warm and caring partner who is well worth the trouble.